What's going on? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. It's Thursday, and I know it's the day you've been waiting for because it's the day that Hey Rockstar is live on this channel. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, or you're watching on Twitch, welcome. My name is Josafat Emiliano. Miguel's back there just chilling. I think he's still, yeah, there he is. And we are here just to share some value. For those of you who are just now checking out Hey Rockstar, what we are is a storytelling platform where I bring some stories or I bring guests who share their stories. But either way, we're going to bring value. Value that you can take, that you can apply it to your disciplines, because we want you basically to do, there's three main focuses that we have for you guys. First of all, we want you to learn how to detach from failure so that then you can take ownership of your life to help you then develop the right mindset and become the rock star of your industry. So welcome to episode 45. I do not have a guest today, and it's okay because we are winding down the end of the season. We're getting closer to call it a year, and entering next month, September, we will celebrate season 2, the launching of season 2 during a birthday party. I have something special lined up for you guys for that day, so just keep it on this channel, keep coming back. But today I just want to share a few stories with you guys. Not so much a few stories, but let me take this off since I don't have a guest, so I don't really need to be listening to anyone speaking back to me. And don't talk back. However, if you are watching live, give us a shout out, give us a comment, or just do the thing, show the love, do the follow, do the support, do the share, and I will personally love you with all of my corazon, well, all of my heart. We're here live from Nashville, Tennessee, and well, let's just get right into it. We got about 40 minutes or 30 minutes of time together, and a lot of you do know, are aware that I am working on launching full-time my speaking business. And lately we've been working on the website. It's not ready yet. Once it's ready, I'll let you guys know. But we are revamping. We are working on the brand, and somehow Hey Rockstar has become part of my speaking brand as Josafat Emiliano, the Keynote and entertainer and all that fun, and performer, all that fun stuff. But during doing the work of fine-tuning and learning what areas that I truly am helping my audience grow in or change in or have an impact in, I simplified it to three main things that my brand is about. It is about helping you detach from failure, helping you take ownership of your life, and helping you develop the right mindset. And when all these three things are in play, then you can go and become the rock star of any industry, or most importantly, of your life. And today I wanted to share or just put some thoughts on that first part, the detaching yourself from failure. As I titled it, Detached from Failure, because it's a past tense for me. And don't get me wrong, just like you guys, I have attempted and fallen in several areas of my life. And in my speaking, I share these stories of how I've tried to wear different hats, how I've tried to attempt other life plans. The first life plan is always, naturally, as kids, we kind of look up to our heroes. For some of us, it's our parents. For some of us, it's our guardians. Or maybe it is a literal hero in our families or in our community. And one of the first words we say as a kid is, when I grow up, I want to be like, insert your hero's name there. For some, it was their mother. For some, it was their fathers. For some, it is their uncles, or just like maybe their grandparents or their guardians, whatever. Maybe it's a teacher that impacted them so much. And we kind of, that's the first plan we take. We take ownership of another person's lifestyle, and we try to apply it. Now, there's nothing wrong in that, because as you are learning to express yourself, you need to try out things that you like, that you enjoy. And if you see your heroes attempting things, then of course, if your hero is a basketball player, then of course you're going to play basketball or attempt to play basketball. If your hero is a cyclist, then of course you're going to get on that bike. If your hero is me, then of course you're going to find the coolest shades you can possibly find and a cool little hat with a little R2D2 logo to have on you. This, by the way, was a gift given to me many years ago before moving to Nashville. Actually, the year I decided to move here to Nashville from Dallas, a group of us were downtown Dallas. We're hanging out, we're eating at this barbecue place, and then like right next to the barbecue place was one of those candy shops, those variety candy places where it just has a bunch of little knickknacks and just different things you wouldn't find at normal convenience stores. And while we were there just having fun, a group of us laughing, just having a good time, my director friend Sebastian bought this. And then afterwards, as we were leaving, he goes, "Hey man, I want to just give you this." Maybe to him it's just a little small token or whatever, and it's something that I cherish, and I put it on this hat. This was actually one of the first hats I bought here in Nashville 5 years ago or 6 years. I don't remember how long it was. And I remember putting this little R2D2 on this little pocket area, and it's become a part of this look that I now have. But anyway, that's not the stories I want to go about leaving Texas, coming to Nashville. But I just wanted to go back to that mindset of a lot of us, we start somewhere. I have a little book there called, well, that's The Art of War. There's another one, Steal Like an Artist, by an author from Austin, Texas. His name is like Austin Clean. Here, let me. Technical difficulties. You know what? Let's go back to this, and you can hear me make a lot of ruckus and noise as I'm reaching over to try to get this little book that I have here. Woo! Got him. So this little book is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. It's a cool little book. He goes off of that phrase by Pablo Picasso where he says good artists borrow but great artists steal. But the whole concept of his artwork, well, I'm not going to go into the depth of the books, of the details, but what he was saying is that even the best handmade copy painting, whatever, I forgot the term is, replica, if you would, of someone who but does it manually, even the best has something, just a little thing that is off from the original. And that little something is what distinguishes that creative from the other original author or artist. And so he's saying, he was encouraging for people to start trying something that someone else has done and try to make it your own, like make your own version. Like, for example, YouTube videos or live streaming videos, because this isn't just YouTube. This is also Facebook and Twitch. But this, even the way I'm working everything, even the way I start my own presentation, the lights, everything else has been implemented and borrowed ideas from other projects that I've worked on, other things that I've learned from, things that I'm like, I can afford, I can work with this, I'm going to use this type of camera. Even the settings that I put on this camera are things that I've learned and adapted from working in other creative industries, from just grabbing ideas from other people and learning, just being a student of life and changing and tweaking everything to make it my own, to be able to tell my story. And although everyone's like, this is a great look, Josafat, they love that they have Gordy's back there. That's the name of my guitar. I haven't given this dude a name, but he's just a silverback gold gorilla that I found. I thought it looked cool because I wanted to give that look, that feel of royalty, of expertise, of just being someone who is so assured of themselves. I mean, even the little lion that I have back there, it's got a crown on it just to show a sense of royalty, of respect. Now, these are just little accents of attitude and little ways of me to express myself. I didn't come up with that concept. I didn't come up with that I didn't mold those little statues, but I saw something that said, I can apply this to my life. And I did. So all that just to say that a lot of us, we start what I like to call plan A, and it's the adopted plan. We start somewhere. Now, one of the first places where I considered that I failed at, and I'm not saying that I failed as though that I bombed it or something, or I got dismissed from it. But obviously, I'm no longer working in this field. So some people would deem that as a failure. But the first life plan I had was to be like my dad, and my dad is a minister. And last episode 44, interview with the Rockstars featuring Eli Emiliano, we went deeper into that concept of both of us being ministers' kids, preachers' kids, and how we learn to adapt and we learn to be ready for whatever they needed. And we wore those hats. We adapted ourselves. We applied ourselves. We did the work because honestly, for the longest time, that was my goal, to be like my plan A, my dad, my hero, the person I looked up to. I mean, I remember as a kid, he would sit at the old church and play the piano, and I'd sit next to him, and he'd let me bang on the thing, even though I didn't know how to play at the time. Eventually, my dad taught me how to play the piano. But I remember I was just sitting there, and one of the most vivid memories I have is like on Sunday mornings, my dad's there playing along to his sister. I don't remember which sister was singing. And I was sitting next to him, acting like I'm playing, and I would look around and I would look at my cousins or friends, and I would give them like a little smirk, like, I'm up here because I am a musician. I am someone special. I am someone cool. It's that attitude. It's that like term of belonging to something important. And so it felt good. It felt right. But the reason I said that is I went and eventually changed my plans because I started studying public speaking communication because honestly, I kind of wanted to be a speaker. But everyone around me was like, well, you're a gifted leader. You are a gifted worshiper. You are a minister. You need to be in ministry. And so listening to the voices around me, I changed my plans. I didn't drop out of college, but I just basically transferred to a university, a Bible university. And again, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong because the experience I had, and that's one thing I enjoyed about our conversation that we had with Eli last week. He said that everything that you go through, every adventure, every experience, every class, everything that you've gone through the past has prepared you to become the person you are meant to be today. So take it all as a life lesson. Take it all, the good, the bad, take it all. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. Detach from failure, because even failure is one of the greatest lessons to help you move forward. So the reason I call myself a failure is simply when push came to shove, I did love helping people. I didn't mind going out of my way to help others. But there was a certain line that I burnt out on because people were not interested in being helped. And I thought as a minister, you needed for them to have some kind of change. But honestly, a lot of these people, all they really wanted was just attention or someone to listen to them. And maybe I didn't understand that at the time. And maybe that is what I was supposed to do. But I mean, I was constantly trying to be the pastor and pastor my flock. And of course, although I was in a youth sense, I got to pastor students and youth for several years. I wouldn't take that back because I do honestly believe that what I poured into their lives was something they could take with them, because I do have a gift. I do have a way of explaining and simplifying things. I just didn't have the patience and the pastoral heart that my father had to be able to withstand the long hours, to be able to withstand the criticism, to be able to withstand just the constant pouring into someone who didn't really feel that appreciative. Again, I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm saying that's how I viewed it at the time. And it honestly bummed me out. And I was not getting any kind of satisfaction of purpose. And now some would argue, well, your job as a minister is not to get satisfaction. Well, I want to argue that, yes, if you truly are called, if you truly have that blessing from God over your life, everything you do for others, you will feel a sense of accomplishment. You will feel a sense of pride in the work that you did. Now, we did a lot of work. We did a lot of work, but still I failed because today I am not a pastor. And so let's move on. Let's just move on. Where I wanted to go with this, because I didn't want to go through the whole talk about plan A, plan B, plan C, but I guess I'll go ahead and just share that with you guys, because a lot of it has to do with failing. Because if plan A for me, adopting the plan of my father, wasn't going to work out, then I had to move on to plan B, which is just fake it till you make it, stay busy as possible. Thankfully, there was an opportunity for me to move on, still be in ministry, because I don't want that degree to be wasted that I went to and studied for 4 years and paid all that money for. And there was an opportunity for me to join a nonprofit organization to do mission work. And it was fun. I love the traveling aspect. I love getting to go to a different culture, to a different people, learning how to figure it out, how to adapt and apply whatever message you have to the culture of where you're found. And of course, we were also working with leaders and pouring into them and encouraging pastors and ministers and missionaries and just leaders in general. And so not only that, but there was a need for the creative aspect of me. There was a need for documentation, to capture the stories of the missionaries, to edit, to release. And I was able to plug in and use my abilities with camera work and with videography and whatever limitations that I had. And it was just pure, as a kid, I just had curiosity, and that's how my best friend and I, we fell and stumbled into filmmaking, because my dad had this big old VHS camcorder, and we would take it and we would make the dumbest, the silliest of little films. Or I would record my youth and I'd act like an interviewer, and or just someone hosting a show, and it was fun to capture and then go back and learn how to edit and these clips and how to tell a story, how to condense it all into one bite-sized story. It was fun for me. And of course, in the mission field, there was a need for that. So I applied all that and I was having fun. But at the same time, I was not happy, because I guess I didn't understand why I wasn't finding total satisfaction in being a missionary. And so I just started saying yes to every project and every need, and started traveling so much to the point that I burned out. I really did burn out, because B is not just for staying busy, but B will eventually lead to burnout. And finally, when my term ended, my 5-year contract ended, I came back to the States, and I was just, I didn't know what to do with myself, because I didn't want to go do a pastoral job, or I didn't want to take a pastoral job because I didn't feel ready to pour into others. I tell everyone honestly, I didn't hate ministry, but I really wasn't loving it at that moment in my life. And everyone under the sun started calling me once they realized that I was off of the mission field and back in the States. And at least some people who knew me in the Hispanic cultures and circles in Texas. And so, but I wasn't ready. So I just had to get out of Texas. And that's kind of how I made my way here to Nashville. But beforehand, I know I needed to do something. I know I needed to provide financially. And so I jumped into just being plan C, just be creative and make something up, learn what entrepreneurship is. And I started doing all kinds of jobs, from like working at fast food restaurants to working at a theater to working in some kind of ministry hubs, but yet it was concert venues, working with schools and just even retail jobs. And eventually I got plugged into MLM, multi-level marketing, network marketing. Now, I always enjoyed that word, networking. Network it kind of has a bad vibe to it. But if there's one thing that I was always good at, it was creating relationships with new people. And there's an art to that, and maybe I'll make a video about that eventually. But I enjoyed getting to travel and meet new people. I love going to those business conferences because you just it was fun. You had so much information, and then of course, so someone once said if a MLM is worth its weight in gold, it would be in its it would have a great educational system. And it was true because different ones required you to read books or listen to the speakers tell the stories to inspire you, to motivate you, to fill you up with ideas to make your own. Again, there's that whole taking from other people who have gone before you, taking that value so that then you can try to apply and see what works with you, what doesn't work with you, and try to figure out to who you are through all that applied knowledge and wisdom that you're learning. And somewhere in my reading, somewhere in my studying, I read that the only difference between the guy who's making, let's just say the only difference between the guy that's making $10,000 a year or $10,000 a day, or let's change it up. The difference between the guy who's making $100 a day and the guy who's making $100,000 a day is that this guy has access to knowledge that this guy does not. And that's the beauty about this country. In this country, anyone who's willing to apply themselves, educate themselves, find the answers, can go from $100 a day to $100,000 a day if they were to apply themselves. And so I got, and there's even a promise in the scriptures that the Lord hides the knowledge and it's up to the kings to find it. See, it's out there. We just need to apply ourselves and learn it and read it and figure out what it is. And so that's when I became a student, and actually I learned to love learning. I realized after college the pleasures of growing this thing right here. And so that's when I started just reading more and learning more and trying new things. And let's just say I've tried different startups and tried my own little candy business. I tried so many different things and they flopped one after the other, after another, after another, after another, after another, to the point where I started to kind of see that, the things that don't really make me money, I love doing, but I need to do something that'll make me money. And the things that I tried to do and create to make money, just I wasn't getting there, or what, I don't know what it was. Maybe I wasn't driven enough. And one after the other, I started flopping and failing and failing and failing and failing to the point where I got depressed, y'all. I was sad because I was not being fruitful. I was not being a productive member of our society. And as a man, I needed to have accomplished something. And of course, everyone's like, was trying to get me to go back into ministry. And like, well, man, that's where you really shine. But I didn't have the call. I didn't have the drive. I didn't have that. And maybe you have comments about this. Like, well, Josafat, you need to stop. You need to get over yourself. And I don't know. All I know is that there was something that was keeping me from finding happiness, and not being able to find that purpose, find that happiness, was really, really limiting me from moving forward. Now, the one thing that here's where I wanted to start this talk with, but I don't know. I just kind of went off on the whole R2D2. Someone needed to hear that. Usually when we are asked, and when people we meet for the first time, what's one of the first things either you ask or they ask to you? and you're there kind of waiting for it. But the one thing that people ask is, so, hey, what do you do? After the initial hello, my name is Josafat Emiliano. Oh, hi, Josafat Emiliano. My name is Miguel. And usually the first thing we go into, our fallback, is, so what do you do, Miguel? Or what do you do, Josafat? And that is the perfect time to speak our identity, to speak what we want to be, our existence, if you would. But usually the fail-safe answer that we give is whatever occupation we are involved in at the time, or whatever it is that we're trading our time for currency. Whatever we call work. Well, hey, I am a pastor, or hey, I am a retail person, or I work in sales, I work in communications, I work as an educator, a professor. And somehow that becomes our identity. And we become so conditioned that that is the correct answer, that we are the work that we provide. That's where our identity lies. Now, my story is I failed from one career to another career, to another career, to another career, to another career. I eventually got to the point when I would dread people asking me, hey, so Josafat, what do you do? Or even to the point where I would dread going back to visit my family or to see other members of my family's community, because they always want to know, what are you doing, Josafat? What have you been up to? I mean, obviously you must be doing something great, or else you would have come home when you were done with school. For some reason, people assume that after school, the only reason to come home is because we couldn't make it in something bigger, or the only reason we don't go home is because we found something amazing that carried us away. And maybe that is true, but I would tell my parents, and for the longest time, and I'm still kind of guilty of doing this, is I would purposely, intentionally make time to visit my family during the week and have to travel on the weekends. That way I wouldn't go to my dad's church, so that no one at church could see me and ask me, so what you been up to? Because I honestly didn't want to tell everyone, well, I failed at everything. I haven't really succeeded. My bank account is in red, and especially when the other dreaded question, like, so why haven't you got married, or are you seeing anyone? And it's not that I don't want to, and I have gone on dates. It's just whenever you failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, it really messes with your attitude, with your confidence. Now, don't get me wrong. People who know me, who see me, communicate with me, they're like, man, Josafat, you're one of the most assured persons I know. You are someone who has their head on their shoulders. Because I've learned to speak, I've learned to seek, and I see now where I'm going. It's taken me a while. It's taken me a long while. But I'm seeing, and I've done what I don't like to do, and I realize I don't want to do this anymore. I can do this. If there's one thing I've learned from work after work after work after work after work, is that I do have a damn good work ethic that I've developed from my parents, from my family, from my grandfather, from my uncles. I know when push comes to shove, I can get my hands dirty. I can get the job done. I know that I have a creative problem-solving ability, that whatever issue happens, we will figure it out and we will get the job done. My thing is, I tend to find loyalty. And I am so grateful for people who've given me opportunities when we had no opportunities, that now that everything's starting to grow, I kind of stay loyal, because I feel like it's selfish of me to try to find something greater. And I'd rather try to help this person's dream. But God has really been dealing with that in my life, that he didn't call me to build someone else's dream. He called me to build his dream that he has for me. Someone needed to hear that. God did not call you to help build someone else's dream. He called you to build the dream that he has for you. And it all starts with your identity. Now, this year, I humbled myself and I sought out professional help to help coach me into launching and preparing my speaking business. Because that's something that was always a fire burning within me. Even last year when the beer bug 1.0 started and everyone got shut in their homes, and technically I was working from home, but I needed something to do. And I was watching people making YouTube videos and making live streams and telling their stories. Like, I am a speaker deep down inside. Although I'm working in theater, I'm working in the arts, I'm working in performance, it's still an aspect that I really enjoy. But I want to be the person in front of the camera. I want to be the person on that stage. I have a message to share. And so I did it on September of last year, almost a year ago. I launched Hey Rockstar just to have a platform to tell my stories. And what's become of it? I can't really tell you this because I know that the audience that have listened to this are vast and are just sporadic at best. But I've become a better communicator because of it. I've become a better friend. I've become a better, just something that's really turned me on into sharing. And so I started to find a way to share my failures, because I've always had that ability to grab whatever failure and shine the positive light to it. Like, well, at least we learned this one way that we shouldn't do these things. It didn't come natural. It doesn't come natural. It takes work. And so speaking and digging deeper and doing this coaching and learning the art of creating a business, because that's the one thing I learned. Like, I know how to perform. I know that I have a story to tell, and I'm learning to craft it, but I don't know the business aspect. That's where I need help. I need to learn how to time manage. I need to learn how to outreach and to find potential clients that are willing to pay for this product that I have. And they're like, well, that's going to come with time. That's the easy part. The hardest part is you got to know who you are. You got to know what area you're an expert in, and you got to know the people that you want to help. And so I had to do a lot of searching, like, well, where can I help people? And that's when I started learning that I'm an expert at failing. I'm an expert at trying something out and not succeeding and getting back up. You see, and that's when it hit me. You know, there are some people, maybe even you included, who you had a dream, you had a plan, you had your identity so ingrained in this plan A, B, or C, whatever. And maybe you worked for it and been working for it for 5, 10, 20, 50, a lifetime. And suddenly, because of something that happened that was out of your hands, that plan is now garbage. That plan is now failure. That plan is no longer in existence. And that can mess with a person's identity. In my search, in my learning more about myself, I started implementing practices that I normally didn't practice. And one of the things I talk about is meditation. That book back there, Warrior, it's by a man named Garrett J. White. He has a company called Warrior Way. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from that book. That's $100 book, by the way. But I learned from another person that one thing that you should always be willing to invest in is in yourself and your education. And I saw that book was worth the $100, and I paid for it. Where was I going with that? Warrior. But anyway, oh man, I totally lost my train of thought. It was going to be a good one, talking about failure, talking about growth, talking about getting back up. Well, let's just keep on going. If it comes back to me, it'll come back to me, that thought that I was going to share about that book, because there's so much insight. Well, you know what? Let me just go and talk about, because I wanted to learn what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to know what it's like to have it all, to find balance in well, he teaches there's four main pillars that you can grow in. And Ty Lopez was someone else that I saw value in, and I paid for his program, and he's the one who told me about, if a book is worth it, pay the money for it. And he also talked about 4 different pillars: about happiness, about financial peace, about the physical, and the romance, and just those different areas. And Ty had his, and Garrett had his other pillars, about balance, family, business, and body. And that's kind of where I got the 5 that you see right there. Boom. First of all, the 5 is kind of like the S of Hey Rockstar. It looks cool. But me personally, I found 5 areas that I want to focus on growth, which is my physical, my spiritual, my mental, my social, my financial. Those are the 5 pillars. I don't have 4 pillars. I have 5, because you guys know I love odd numbers. And those are my personal disciplines. And I've attempted at all of them, and I failed at all of them. As a matter of fact, let's just say the physical one. A month ago or 2 months ago, I started the 25-day Rockstar physical challenge, and I made it to day 14. And I did something stupid. I wrote down the plan that I had, and I was going to stick to it for 25 days. And I was being faithful. I was growing strong. I was seeing results. I was being good, because it had to do with my diet and my physicalness, and just it was going good for 25 days. But on the 14th day, I took advice from someone else, and I added and changed and tweaked what I was staying faithful to, because my whole purpose for the 25 days was not what results I was going to get at the beginning compared to the end, or from the end compared to the beginning. Whether I lost weight, whether I trimmed down, whatever that was not my goal. My goal was, can I be faithful for 25 days to the process that I said I'm going to do? And I did up to the 14th day, and then I changed that process. I implemented something that messed up the whole system, because I was not prepared for it. I didn't study for it, and I took it as advice from someone who, honestly, I love the dude who talked to me and told me this. But if I look at him today, he is not the picture of perfect health. I don't know why I took his advice in this aspect. He was getting results, but also his diet is nowhere near where my diet was. My diet was a very pure detox diet. And when I took this supplement that he recommended, it almost killed me, because my blood levels had already normalized. I was really good, because I was faithful to the 25-day process up to 14 days. But this supplement kicked me out. It dropped my blood sugar levels. It weakened my body. It made me susceptible to diseases that I work around every day at a lab. And I have a very, very good immune system. And because these 3 days where my defenses were low, whatever was around me hit me hard and knocked me on my butt. And I was near death. It was horrible. And that messed up the rest of the system. And now it's been almost a month later, and I'm still trying to recuperate from the damage that this bad advice that I was not studied up for, prepared for, whatever, took me out. And my plan is to jump back in. I'm not going to do 25 days. I'm going to do 35 days. I'm going to up the ending on my physicalness, because I know that I could be fit for 14 days if I had just kept up and not changed what I already had. I would have seen results, but mostly I would have proven to myself that I can be faithful. See, the process is about being faithful. All right. I'm getting way off topic here, but the whole thing is detaching yourself from failure, and I needed to go into the story for this. meditation. From this guy, the warrior way, he started talking about meditation, practicing meditation. And that's where I was going with that story earlier, to end the night. And it was during this process where he was talking about his practice meditation, and I'm like, I need to start doing that. And let me tell you, having such an active mind, it is almost impossible at first. And I remember when I first started with just like 5 minutes, and I could not stop the thoughts from flooding in, the creativeness from flooding in. But eventually I got to the point where I could. And then went to 10 minutes, and then 25 minutes. I can't do anything longer than that, because to me it's it's pointless, really. But what I like doing is I did my own version where I learned to relax, but also become very aware of who I am. Part of my meditation practices is asking myself questions about me, asking myself questions about how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, how I'm seeing things, because I have learned about myself. For example, today I was at a point where I was acting out of character, and I had to get myself out of my head and say, okay, Josafat, what the heck's going on here, man? This is not you. What's bugging you? What's really, really bugging you? And I had to stop and catch myself and realize, you know what? This is true. I'm falling prey to the emotions around me, and I don't need to do that. I have the choice to change my attitude. Yes, I could dwell in this. I could dwell in this dark place. But why? What's the point? What's the benefit? No one gets anything out of it. So let's just go and take this, put it in this little box right now. Now, I'm not suppressing. That's a different thing. Because I know a lot of people suppress a lot of anger, a lot of emotions to the point where it bubbles up. No. Because in my practice, in my meditation, I pull it out. I air it out. I stretch it out. And I say, okay, you ugly thing. I mean, I shouldn't call you ugly because you are a part of me. For some reason, God deemed okay for this to be a part of me. Why? Lord, how could I use this attitude or this mindset or this way of thinking that isn't a perfect or good or positive way? It's actually dark. It's actually demonic. I don't want to say demonic, but some people see it as something bad. Why is this a part of me? Show me, clear for me. How can I use this for your glory? How can I use this to benefit and continue on in the dream that you have for me? And for some reason, that has given me such a peace to own my demons. Now, a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, you have demons. No, I don't have demons, but that's the term we're going to call them. To own my limitations, to own my mistakes, to own up to my failures. You see, unfortunately, a lot of us, once we failed and we've identified so hard with our plans, when our plan fails, we linger and we think, well, since our plan failed and we identify with a plan, then by default, I identify with failure and I am a failure and I don't deserve to move forward. Now, some people go that extra mile to end it there. I am hoping that you find this and you find encouragement to know that you're not alone, and ending it is not the answer. Owning it is. Owning the fact that you attempted something and you failed at it, but also having the wisdom to realize, but this does not define me. I can choose to use this as an example to grow further, to try again, to try something different, to become someone better than what this failure represented. Yes, it's a part of me. Yes, it's not attractive, but this belongs here, and it's going to be a marker that's going to help me get further on. And whenever something like, it's almost like this whole vaccine variant, what a true vaccine is. I'm not going to get into this political thing, and probably the fact that I said that word, I probably already got red flags. Sorry. But let's talk about the common. Oh, let's talk about the flu. Like my brother gets the flu vaccine every year because the vaccine, what it is, it's supposed to be a weakened, dead variant of the disease, and once it's introduced into your body, your natural defenses get to work, and they recognize it, and they copy the DNA, or they copy the structure of it, and then they record and says, all right, this is bad. Anytime anything like this happens, we already figured out that this is what we need to defeat that, and then your body creates the antibodies that it needs to attack any future, and making you thus stronger. So it is that little stress, it is that little thing that helps make you a stronger version to fight off any future variants of that disease or that sickness or whatever. That's what it's meant to do. And you see, failure is the same way. Any attempt, all right, so I tried to budget. I tried to count every red dime and or every red cent and silver dime and make sure I knew where everything's going. And I realized myself that whenever I try to budget to the penny, it never works for me, because I feel like I feel like it controls me too much, and I tend to focus then more on the money and where it's coming, why it's not coming in as much as I need it to come in, and rather than it's going out faster. And I tend to just lose faith in that. And I realize, you know what? Budgeting it to the cent is not really working for me. What works for me is kind of working in bigger bounds. Like, you know what? All this is what comes in, and all this is what's going out. Let's just figure out a way to make this bigger than this. And you know, the funny thing is, most people, they think, let's try to make this smaller than this. But that's a limiting mindset. Why do you think making this smaller than what you're already making is the way to go? When we were created to expand, we were created to multiply, we were created to grow. Let this stay where it's at and let this grow. Think of creative ways to multiply your streams of income. Like what you have right now, let's come up with some other ideas to add on to here and make this bigger. Obviously, this might get bigger too, but let's always kind of keep it in line. And so you can see, well, this is going to be big. The coming in should be bigger than the going out. Anyway, it's oversimplifying my budgeting. I mean, there's other little areas that I have and other little practices, like, and I learned this from Jono. Actually, I learned it from reading the Richest Man in Babylon, but Jono Winkler, one of my guests that I had a few months ago, he talked about the best thing you could do is always pay yourself first. Always set aside money to put into the future you. Not like, I'm going to set this money aside to eat myself a steak dinner tonight because I deserve it, because I worked hard. No. It's to set the money aside for the future you who can invest into something greater. To invest either in your education or invest in a property, invest in something that will eventually create another stream of income towards you. I take practices and learn from those. So every failure, y'all, every attempt to do something that you fall flat on your face is a chance for you to adapt and grow, to adapt and combat anything of that sort in the future. You know, I remember one time after I made my first millions, I was going to write a book called It Took a Scam to Get Me Rich. And a lot of people are like, what does that mean? I'm sure you've all gotten the emails about some prince in another country, usually it's Nigeria, who for some reason they have this wealth and they want to bring it to the States, and the only person they have with his last name is you, and they would like to work with you to kind of, and you know what, I fell for it at one point because he used a lot of Christian jargon, and I was a college student, and we were talking, and we even got to talking. He convinced me to get some phone cards to call overseas. I mean, yeah, that's how bad it was. And eventually, he needed money to help wire whatever, and I mean, I'm a college student. I didn't have much to begin with, but But let's just say through it all, and even he had access to my number. I gave him access to my bank account. I know you're like stupid. But when I finally realized this is probably not healthy and I need to get out of this, let's just say he took me for 500 in total. And I lost that 500. He got it out of my account. By then I caught it. We closed that account. We put everything needed to be put out. Actually, I had more money in that account, but I transferred it into a credit card that I had with that account. And then later on, it took me almost a month to get it back out of the credit card. It was just something weird. But anyway, I was eventually free from that. And I wound up losing $500. Now, some people are like, man, you lost $500. That is $500 that you could have used for tacos or whatever. But the truth of the matter, I think of it as that was a $500 lesson that I learned that there's no such thing as get rich quick. Now, I could have learned it by hearing someone else's story, like you are now hearing from me. But for some reason, I had to learn it from experiencing this. And I realized then that just because people use the right Christian jargon or use and the funny thing is, this was before I started doing mission work. And when I go to other countries, when I went to other countries, I realized that people in other countries see things differently. They have different ethics than what we have here in America or in the Western civilization. For some people, if they can get a one-up on you, they see it as a blessing because they were able to get a one-up on you. And they thank God that they're able to get a one-up on you. And that's fair to them. Now, again, I'm not here to say whose moral compass is better than the other moral compass. That's why we are guided by the Spirit, not by our... that's why I'm guided by the Spirit and not so much my own understanding. But I said all that. I learned my lesson to keep my guard up, to learn that just because people can use the right words, can use the right statements, I need to get to know their heart. I need to see them. I have discernment. And I had these red flags in me, but because he was using the right terminology, I kept ignoring this. And later on, I realized, and it's come again, whenever I'm around certain people that people admire, and I feel like something in me, like I can't put my finger on it, but I love them. I can respect them. Just something in me is telling me not to put trust in them. And I don't say everyone, but a good majority of these people that have had these feelings about eventually showed their true colors. Others just kind of disappeared, and I don't know whatever became of them. And so that's when I started learning to trust my intuition, learning to trust my discernment of others, because his plan for me is for greatness, and I am now focused on building his dream for me. And I can't waste any more time building other people's dreams or listening to other people's sad stories. And again, I hate that I use that term, but it's also what I've learned to just listen and hear. And it's funny because some people, they share the same story and they're still stuck. They're still stuck. Their car is still stuck in the highway and they're still just trying to get home. And it's been 3 months now and they keep telling me the same story every time. Their car's still stuck and they're just trying to get to home. I've helped them maybe once, maybe twice. But after that, I'm like, sorry, dude, no cash. Or, you know what? I don't know. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to go there. Today is about talking about failure, using failure, taking ownership of your failure, using them as life lessons. All right. So all in all, in my talk, there's a statement that I open up with to give hope to my audience. First, and the second one is actually a statement that I learned from the Warrior Way. But the first statement that I like to tell my audience is, first of all, before moving forward, I need you to understand that you are not the failure, but the plan you were using failed. You are not broken. It's the system that you've been using up until now, maybe still using. is what's broken. You see, when you realize that failure is not your definition, failure is not your end. Failure is simply something that you can use to move on forward, to learn, to adapt, to use it as something to grow your let's just say your mental strength, your mental origin, and realize, well, now I know not to do this. I don't remember who said this, but it's become a quote that I've been restating, is that in life you have victories and you have life lessons, but you don't have defeats. You have victories and you have life lessons. Now, rock stars. Detached from failure is the very first step that you need to learn. Don't identify yourself with the failure. Do not identify yourself with the broken parts of the plan. Heck, don't even identify yourself with the plan that you're on right now, because the plan is not even you. The plan is simply what's the boat that you're using to get you to where you feel called to be, to go where you can become the rock star in. I mean, right now it's been basically a rant, but I think I've given you a lot to go on. And at the end of it all, at the end of the day, just remember these two phrases. You are not a failure. The plan you were using it failed you. You are not broken. The system you've been using up until now, maybe still using, is broken. Take these two statements of hope and realize that you have something far greater coming to you. Use the failure to step on and move on to something greater, but do not identify with that. You identify with greatness. You identify with value. Keep coming back. Keep listening to the stories. Keep taking the value that my guests bring to you and use that to start applying to your lives, to start figuring out what direction you want to go. I've brought in people of all walks, actors, musicians, ministers, fashion gurus, entertainers, financial people, songwriters, business owners. I've brought so many different people of different walks because they all, in the end, have gone through the process, have failed, have detached from failure, have taken ownership of their lives. It's no one else's responsibility but yours and theirs. And they've changed their mindset. They've changed their way of thinking because they want to thrive in their God-given dream. And some of them still don't even know what that dream is, but they're going towards something different. They're moving forward. They're creating momentum. They are excited. They find something that just turns them on, and they are running faithfully, disciplined towards that goal. And you can too. First step, stop identifying with failure. Detach yourself from failure. This failure, I own it, but it doesn't define me. It doesn't judge me. It doesn't boss me. I am the boss of it. And now I can use this to become a stronger version of myself, to create my defenses, become stronger and healthier, and I can move forward because now I know what failure feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it feels like. And guess what? I am still here and I still have breath, so I can still keep moving forward. Rockstar, you've tasted failure. You've smelt it. You've seen it. You've felt it. You know what it feels like, the weight of it. But guess what? You're still here. You still have breath. Failure does not own you. Failure does not define you. Failure is simply something now a tool that you can use to move forward, develop the right mindset, and become the rock star of your industry. Woo! What a great show. This has been episode 45, Detached from Failure. Man, if you enjoyed that as much as I did, please let me know. Please send me messages. Please send me love. Let's get this back on. Let's get this headset back on. Thank you, y'all, for this. Like I said, next month is our anniversary, 1 year anniversary of Hey Rockstar. I have something planned for you guys around that date. I am probably going to take 1 week off for sure before that special day, maybe 2 weeks, just to kind of rest. And because a lot is happening in the month of September, my church has their conference. I might be traveling. There's so much more stuff that I can't announce right now, simply because it hasn't been posted yet, and I don't want to get in trouble for talking about things that aren't ready yet. However, I just want to thank you guys for showing up. I want to thank you guys for being faithful to coming in every week and listening and learning and participating and keeping hopeful, knowing that you're on the right path. You are working towards becoming that rock star of your industry, of your life, of your family, of your journey, of your adventure, of your stage. And I'm excited. I want to hear my next season. I'm hoping to bring you on my show to tell your stories, to share your struggles, to share your defeats, and share how you were able to overcome, take ownership of your life, and then you can inspire others to change their mindset and help them become the rock stars of their stage, of their lives, of their industry. And we give back from what we receive, from where we received. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an awesome evening with you guys. Once again, my name is Josafat Emiliano, and all the way from Nashville, my co-host Miguel and I, we just want to thank you. Thank you for letting us into your homes today. Thank you for letting us into your cars. But most especially, thank you for letting us into your hearts. So, until next time, I truly desire that you have much love and many blessings.